If self-doubt or procrastination are affecting your business, emotional blocks may be the culprit. Join us today as we shed light on how to overcome these blocks to success. Stay tuned. I am Gloria Grace Rand, founder of The Love Method and author of the #1 Amazon bestseller, Live, Love, Engage: How to Stop Doubting Yourself and Start Being Yourself. In this podcast, we share practical advice from a spiritual perspective on how to live fully, love deeply, and engage authentically, so you can create a life and business with more impact, influence, and income. Welcome to Live, Love, Engage. Namaste. Have you ever wondered why two entrepreneurs in the same industry have different levels of success? Well, stick around because today's episode explores the reasons behind that, and it has to do with overcoming emotional blocks in business that might be hindering your progress. So if this is your first time joining us, I am Gloria Grace. I support women business owners and strengthening their spiritual connection so you can create a life and business that's both prosperous and deeply satisfying. And I don't know about you, but if you've been in business for any length of time, you know that success really depends on lots of things, but I think at its core, it depends on your emotional well-being. And that's why it's important to recognize and then overcome emotional blocks that may come about. But what is an emotional block anyway? You might be wondering. Well, it's really it's a defense mechanism of our brain. It's a way that prevents us from feeling emotions normally. And it typically will happen when we have been affected by some type of stress or trauma. And what happens is it keeps us from moving forward, and at the same time also prevents us from thinking clearly, and it can affect our daily actions. And if you're a business owner, you know that you really need to have a clear head. You need clarity. You need to be able to think on your feet to make decisions. And if you are having some type of these emotional blocks, which I'm going to share with you how they show up in a minute, then it can really be a problem for you. You might miss out on lucrative opportunities, for instance, or you may invest in risky ventures that could wind up costing you time and money that you can't afford to lose. Now, for me, I've had my fair share of emotional blocks that have definitely shown up in my business over the years, now that I've been in business for almost 15 years now. And I would say couple of them, the way they showed up was self-doubt and procrastination. And in fact, I would say a bit of fear of success as well. And to give you an example, when I was doing copywriting as my main business, helping business owners with their websites, writing content, I was doing work for a while with a web designer, and she was designing websites for home builders. And I was writing blog articles for her clients to go on their websites to help with Google ranking, of course. And I did this for many, many years. And in fact, for quite a few years, in fact, and I was doing really great work for her. And it dawned on me one day, and I wrote about this in my book, Live, Love, Engage. I think I was at some other webinar, and I realized that I had not asked for a raise in like probably 4 years of doing this work. And I was doing, really good work. I mean, she continued to hire me, and she would give me other projects to work on. And I believe that part of that reluctance was this emotional block that I had around success, around money. And I I finally did ask for a raise, and they gave it to me very quite willingly and happily to be able to keep me working for them. But that's the type of thing that can really hinder your success. It can keep you from generating the revenues that you want. It can keep you from, as I say, from maybe new opportunities. So that's why it's so important to be able to recognize these emotional blocks. And as I said a little bit earlier, that oftentimes they're caused by stress or trauma. And in my case, I do believe that a lot of what happened or what has caused my blocks over the years is because of the trauma that I suffered as a child. I, grew up as a daughter of an alcoholic, and if any of you have dealt with alcoholism in your family, it is a type of emotional abuse, frankly, and that can have an effect. And certainly, if any of you have experienced physical abuse, that's another trigger. That's another thing that can cause trauma. And as children, when we find ways to cope, and oftentimes we wind up pushing these emotions down into our body. We're not dealing with them a lot of times because frankly, we don't know how. We don't have that emotional intelligence to be able to deal with it. And unless we have someone in our families or a friend who can help us and get us the resources that we need, get us help, counseling or something like that, then those traumas are just going to stay down, and they're going to come up. They're going to rear their ugly head years later when we least expect it, because something may happen that will trigger you. And I'm going to say this now. I was going to say it later, but I'm just going to say this now because I just want you to know that it's okay. These things are going to come up, and life is a journey. We are human beings, and we're always going to be having something or other that's going to happen to us, even as adults. Even as adults, you can suffer trauma. Maybe you lose a loved one, or maybe you suffer a sudden tragedy. I remember I had a friend who I met several years ago whose house burned down. I mean, that's a traumatic event. And even as an adult, you might be able to deal with it, but maybe not. There's still a lot of things that can happen that could wind up. Maybe you have to take care of kids and deal with your job, and you can't really fully handle what's going on in your life at that time. So that's what happens then. Then that leads to a block that then needs to get released later. So some of the other ways that they show up in business, how emotional blocks can show up in business, are perfectionism, negative self-talk, overwhelm, lack of focus, imposter syndrome. That's another one. Constant fatigue, even depression, people pleasing, overeating and over drinking. And again, overeating, that's definitely one that I've kind of dealt with off and on over the years, that still comes back. And that's again, what I want to point out is that don't be hard on yourself for that. When you find yourself, if you recognize any of these symptoms in you, don't beat yourself up over it, because that's another thing I think that what can happen. And I've worked with some wonderful coaches who have pointed that out to me when I was beating myself up. It doesn't do any good. It just adds more angst to the problem. So instead, just recognizing it, that's half the battle right there. Because now this gives you an opportunity to take action, to do something about it, to seek help. And there's lots of help available in a variety of ways. And you may have to try different modalities and different things over the years, or even for an initial issue, because some things may work and some things may not. And that's okay, because the beauty of being a human being is that we are all unique people, and we all have unique experiences, and we all react to different people and different things in different ways. And and that's okay. So, you do a little bit of trial and error. And for me, I know I've tried a lot of different things, and a lot of different things have helped. And then, as I said, maybe something will come up later that will trigger me again, and then I'll go seek a different kind of help. So, just as an example, talking with a counselor or talking with a coach, and that could be a business coach or a life coach. And I will tell you, I worked with a business coach who turned out to help me more emotionally than even with my business. So you never know, folks. You never know. I'm also a big believer in alternative healing. So, you can go see a hypnotist, someone who is perhaps versed in like past life regression might be able to help you, or just even in going back to early childhood and helping you to release some of that trauma that might have happened. Then theta healing. I've worked with a theta healer before, and that was very helpful. Reiki, of course, which is something I practice, is really great at helping you to release energy blocks. And of course, my personal favorite right now is light language, which we're going to do at the end of the episode, because I have really found great results in my personal use of light language and helping to release emotional blocks. You can also do some work on your own without even seeking guidance from another person. You could meditate, you can journal. And the power of doing those two things is that it allows you to connect with your higher self. When you can, have a conversation with yourself and say, "Hey, I'm finding that my business is stuck right now, and I can't figure out, why am I procrastinating? Why am I spending all this time on social media instead of, reading posts instead of writing posts?" And have a conversation with yourself, because when you get into a regular practice of journaling, you may be surprised at the wonderful advice you can actually give yourself, because you can have some aha moments. And I know I have too many to count, where I've been journaling and all of a sudden a memory will pop into my head. And it's like, oh, oh, maybe that's why I'm doing this. It's because that happened. And then now, as an adult, you can spend some time, you can go within and have a conversation with your inner child and say, "Hey, you know what? We survived that, because look, I'm a grown up now, and you're okay. I've got you." And doing something like that is just, it's so powerful. It really can help you. But again, I do think sometimes the working with another person is so helpful, because here's the thing too, a lot of times, and I found this in working with coaches, hiring a coach for myself, was that they will hear us say things that we're not aware of. We'll get blinders on, and we don't really see things that is so obvious to another person. And so that's why I really strongly believe in coaching or counseling as well. But doing that, because you can think everything is, okay, maybe not great, maybe, but it's okay and you're getting by. But when you talk to somebody else and share with them what's going on in your business, then they may say, I hear you say this. Did you know you said that? And you can be like me, which you might say, "Really? Oh, shoot, did I say that?" And that wonderful, awareness, sometimes you can have self-awareness, but sometimes you need somebody else to help you, to be able to become then aware of what you're doing. And then you have the opportunity to then come up with new strategies to be able to deal with it, and to be able to release these, blocks, and to be able to then just overcome them, frankly. Sometimes it's not even just releasing it. Sometimes it's just saying, okay, recognizing it and saying, let me do something else now. I don't have to keep using this as a support mechanism. So, for example, and I'll just be honest, and if you've been a regular viewer of the podcast on my YouTube channel, even over the years, you will see my weight tends to fluctuate. This is still one I think I have it, and I'll drop quite a bit of pounds, and then something happens, and I wind up going back to food. It's an emotional crutch. I've been doing it since I was a kid. I'm getting better though, because I've never hit the very, very top weight that I hit. Well, about 15 years ago now. Yeah, I mean, I topped the scales at a very scary number, and I vowed never again to get that uh, get that much weight on my body, and I haven't. I've come within about 30 pounds of it, unfortunately, but I haven't done it, and that's the important thing. And and each time I'm able to bounce back quicker too. I mean, that's the thing too, is that even though I have been sort of every 12 to 18 months to 24 months wound up putting pounds back on again, I recognize it. And instead of going maybe 10 or 15 years and before I said, oh, we've got a problem here. so so that's why I say give yourself grace. Really give yourself the grace to know that things are going to happen. You're not always going to be perfectly happy sunshine person, and you may feel frustrated and angry, and things may not go well in your business, and that's okay. Just know that you are okay, and it's your life, and you can choose how you want to live it every single day, every single moment. And don't get caught up in that comparison trap of, looking at somebody else who's successful and wondering why you're not. You don't know what's going on in their life. All you know is what's going on with you. And you are who you can control, and you can get the help you need, and then you can be great for quite a long time, and then if something happens, you know what? Go get yourself some more help. Again, it's okay. It's really, yeah, this is a wonderful journey that we're on, being humans, and knowing also that you are still, I believe that we are all divine. We are all spiritual beings living as a human being. We are God expressing. uh, God is expressing itself, himself, herself, however you want to say it. Source, the universe, creator, whatever, is expressing itself through us. And we have free will. And we were given that to be able to goof up now and then, to learn, to make mistakes. And that's okay. And that's how we grow. And that's what we're here for. We're here to learn, to laugh, to live, to grow, to have fun, to screw up, and then to pick ourselves back up again, and then teach others. Teach others from hopefully spare them some of the mistakes that we make. And that's a really great thing to do too. To be a mentor to someone else, and it's what I love being able to do. So, okay, I think I've been on my soapbox long enough today. So what I want to do now is share with you a modality that I found that has helped me to release emotional blocks, and continues to do so, because I generally practice this almost every day. And I love sharing it with other people, because to help you as well to be able to release your blocks. So that's what I'm going to do today. So for those of you again who are new, maybe you've never heard of light language before, I have other episodes that talk to you about it, but I'll do the cheat sheet version, which is essentially, it is a multidimensional communication. It comes through as a language that your logical part of your brain may say it sounds familiar, but I really don't understand what the heck she's saying, and that's okay. Don't worry about that. What it does is it speaks to your soul. It speaks to your heart. That is who I am sharing the message through, and it comes from higher realms, uh, from God, from source, from angels. It's love. It's really a message of love, and it's something that is very healing and very soothing, and it really, uh, I just invite you to listen with an open mind, but even more, listen with an open heart. And if you are listening to this podcast somewhere where you are multitasking and you're driving or operating machinery, as they like to say, pause it, come back to this later, sometime where you can sit down and just be still and to just be fully present with what I'm going to be sharing with you today. And as I say, what I will do is I'm setting the intention that the message that comes through will help you to release whatever emotional blocks and challenges you have right now, so that you can let it go and be more at peace with where you are on your life's journey. So I invite you right now to just sit still, maybe place your feet on the ground, take a deep breath, and just let what comes through wash over you. Kayo no kahue kaso kahue kaya no eko kohi ko kahue sati hue kaya to kahue sayo no akiatu sonnoke asoyo no kiato ako koe ka sakoya no kuhi sono i koe koia no sanyo koyu takoe katashu no kiho takayate honna kashangona keya no koya pa no koeta konna kalia to kusha kaya no kaka shanno koya pa ka kia no no mana kiata koya to koya to kola to ma sakato koya no kiata ano kuata kiata shia no kaya koya na korea mano koi sonku kohu koya koe 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 shotia ko si sho. I hope you received that with the love that was intended for you. And if you would ever like to have a private one-on-one session with me, I invite you to you can do a free 15-minute session with me. Normally I do longer sessions, at least a half an hour with clients, but if you want to experience this one-on-one, it's really powerful. And I do them virtually over Zoom, and you can get a little bit more longer taste of what light language is about. So if you go to bit.ly/L trial, and trial is with a capital T also, and I'll have that in the show notes as well, so don't worry about it. So I think that's going to probably do it for this for today, and I really thank all of you for joining me today. Make sure, if you are not subscribed to Live, Love, Engage, that you do so on your favorite podcast platform, or you can also subscribe on YouTube as well. And until next time, I encourage you to go out and live fully, love deeply, and engage authentically.